Welcome back, Dead Ball Dancing. We are on a new platform, so please let us know if anything is wrong. But conceptually, we are streaming live on YouTube, on Twitch, even on Facebook for the old heads. So
Facebook.
we had some great basketball over the weekend, and of course on your screen here. But damn, we are just about ready for this Natty. We got about 40 minutes. Justin, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. I'm good. What a bunch of real good basketball games. Holy crap. Before we get started, I need to clear the air on something. Would you classify this shirt as a wife beater or just a tank top?
It's a tank top. I think a wife beater has to have the ribs. It has to be like a Hanes,
Thank
like
you.
white. Yeah, well, I guess not white. I've seen black wife beaters.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but this is not like I was catching strays at work during one of our previous episodes because this is like a very comfortable tank top. You know, it's hot out, weather's changing, beautiful weather this weekend, right? And I feel like having my sleeves free. So just for the audience, this is not a wife beater. I just wanted to clear the air. There he is. Yep. National championship episode. Pull the guns out. Let's get it. Just wanted to clear the air there. So not a wife beater. But man, Final Four really stood up to what we thought it was going to be. And just to remind the viewers, if you go back to our previous episode, what you'll realize is Rick's pick to win the national championship is playing my pick to win the national championship. Either way, I think these teams deserve it. I mean, they displayed an ungodly amount of discipline, I think, in these last two games. And I'm juiced for this one tonight. This is going to be a barn burner, I think. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. Whew.
I want to start with a grief, just so that I don't hark on it later, so we can talk about all the good.
Okay.
But what I called out with the Auburn fans is already all over the internet, all over sports talk radio. It's only the injury and the refs, and it's all bullshit. Florida beat that ass. I don't care. I do not care if your star was quote unquote injured because he shot like shit. The whole team shot like shit.
Yep.
Florida keeps getting lucky. I won't steal your thunder. I saw that note from you. But they're winning their games, right? So I don't want to hear from the Auburn people about the injury because he's going to transfer out of your school next year, and you guys aren't going to even win half your SEC games. So, sorry.
Yeah, and you can't. Two things. I think I'm going to rescind my luck comments once we get to that game. I think once we dive into that, I think I was being a little harsh because I'm starting to become biased towards the coach of Florida. Like, I think his face reminds me of like a childhood bully. So like whenever I like look at him, I get like I feel like weird. So that's why I'm pulling against Florida. But Broome had 16-7. So like that's a bad game for Broome, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bad game for Broome. But like 16-7 is what is almost what Flag averaged for the year. I love Flag, but like,
well, yeah. I mean, there's an argument there too, isn't there?
Right. So I don't like the excuses. Auburn had them where they needed them. I think you and I. In fact, why don't we just jump into it now and we'll start recapping the game, kind of go back to back here a little bit. But I spoke last week a little bit about how Auburn was really good at second half offense, and I believe Florida like wasn't. So I think I was like, if Florida goes into the half down, like they're screwed because like Auburn can come out and punch you in the mouth. When I saw the halftime score of that game, Rick, I was like, holy crap, like I might have actually called it. And Walter Clayton Jr. came out and just said, absolutely the hell not on my watch. I'm the best player in college basketball, and I'm going to show you why. 34 on 11 for 18 is diabolical. That is Steph Curry style shooting numbers, man. So I wanted to get that out of the way. No more excuses. No more excuses for Auburn. We complained, I think, a little bit all year, you and I did, about how Auburn can't really defend, right? Like they were not in the top 25 in Ken Palm defense. I don't believe. I could be wrong. And they kept Florida to below their total points per game average, I guess. So good on them. I think Florida's averaging like 86 points a game and Auburn kept it to 79, but they committed 22 fouls to Florida's 15, right? And you're like, okay, well, that 22 fouls is a lot. They were 317th in the country in fouls committed this year. So, like, they don't have any discipline. They didn't have any cohesiveness on the defensive side of the ball. And if you let a dude come off a pick and your big is there defending, hedging, showing like he should be, and he rises up and claps a three in your face, that is poor defensive discipline. So let me stop there. Good on Florida, man. I don't know what your thoughts were. I have a couple more things to say, but I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I was on Florida for half the year.
Yeah, you were.
Florida down 8 at the half. I'm standing in a line in Florence, Arizona, and watching on my phone.
Yeah.
And I bet the money line. I bet the 6.5. I bet the team total over.
Right.
This was never in doubt. I was shocked
Crazy.
that this was an 8-point game at the half.
Yeah.
Because Florida is better. They're just better.
Yeah.
So, had that result, and at the time, this is something I'll come back to. Florida was hot and cold shooting again, streaky again, shooting to close out the half. But I never felt that Auburn was in control. Even up 8, it didn't feel like this was Auburn's game to lose. It felt like there was going to be a Florida comeback. And like you said, the best player in the country
easily
just needed to turn it on. And, and he did. But want to give Clayton his dues. First consecutive 30-point games in the Elite 8 and the Final 4 since Larry Bird.
Absurd.
No one else has done it, right? And it's super selective, right? Elite 8, Final 4 means your team has to be good enough to get there.
But that's when it matters.
and he dropped it.
Yeah.
Another thing that really stood out to me, the SEC only has 3 national championships.
Yeah.
Kentucky, right? Kentucky. The SEC only has 3 natties, and Florida has 2 of them.
Right. The Joe Kim Noah era, I think, is when they were able to get them, right? Like,
I'm really looking forward to Florida winning this year and tripling up Kentucky in titles.
I'm glad you're looking forward to it. And I'm glad that is a dream of yours, but unfortunately, it is just a dream. So one thing, I think one of the things that stuck out to me was, like, I felt like the performance on both sides, like, wasn't that great, just from an a subjective. Am I saying that right? Subjective? Is it objective or subjective?
Objective means you can't argue it. Subjective means it's your
opinion. Then, yeah. From like my subjective point of view, it felt weird. Like, Florida had 16 turnovers, Auburn had 14, right? Florida had 7 assists, Auburn only had 11. Like, the assist to turnover ratios were god awful. I don't know if it was just because of sloppy play or good defense. I don't think it was because of good defense, because the teams put up almost 80 apiece, right? And the fouling, man. Like, the fouling is something, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later, that is very interesting to me, because Florida shot 30 free throws and Auburn shot 23. That was the difference in the game, in my opinion. Auburn only made 16 out of the 23. Florida converted on 21 out of 30. So, like, Auburn makes 3 more of their free throws. Maybe the momentum changes, right? But Auburn has been catastrophically bad at defending without fouling this year. And I think they really showed it. Now, my point in saying all of that was, especially just pointing out the turnover piece, right? And the assisted turnover piece is, Florida won that game because of Clayton, right? If you look at the scoring disparity, Clayton had 34. The Cohen, the tall white guy, 21. Cohen.
Yeah, he played awful.
He played awful, but he still had 14 or 15. Mm-hmm. And then everyone else had like 2, 4, 2, 4. And then you look at Houston's balance, and it's like Cryer 26, Jawan with 13. Then you had another guy with like 10 or 11. And we'll get into the Duke game here in a second. But my point is, I'm wondering if Florida or Auburn, whoever would have won that game, if they played that style of ball against Houston, like, that game's not going to cut it, right? Like, you can't turn the ball over 16 times versus Houston or 14 times versus Houston and expect to win the game, right? So I was a bit, although it was a tightly contested game, which I really enjoyed, if not for Clayton, I don't think it would have been, like, my preferred game to watch. So good win by Florida. It's going to be a hell of a natty. They got to clean up. They got to clean up those turnovers if they want a chance. So, yeah, thought that was kind of interesting.
So going to the other semifinal game here, Duke and Houston. Houston wins 70-67. Really impressive showing, I thought, by Houston's defense yet again. I don't know how you beat this defense from a game plan standpoint, right? So, once you get on the court, things happen, but I don't know how Florida can sit and think that there's a way to outduel this Houston defense in a meaningful way.
Right.
Obviously, you'll take your shots, and we'll talk about the one-to-one matchup. But that was my big takeaway watching Houston, because Duke played Duke's game, and Houston's defense was just better. But the whole time I'm watching, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, how does Florida game plan for this? Because it's fundamentally perfect defensive basketball.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do.
Is this the best defensive team that we've seen in the last decade?
Yeah, it has to be.
Has to be, statistically and eye test wise, right?
How many NBA players have they gone through in this tournament?
Holy shit!
And
yeah, Lanier on Tennessee, Malawak, Flag. Who else? Didn't they? Purdue, Braden Smith, I guess.
Yeah. Just Duke. Duke rolled out 6 NBA players.
Yeah. Yep.
Most likely, right? Held them to 1 field goal in the last 10 minutes of the game. And they did it committing no fouls. Duke only shot 3 free throws in the last 3 minutes. This game, this was textbook. This was clean. And you got more notes than I do on this, so I'll just continue this rant. Flag ain't it.
You don't think
Flag ain't it. Cooper Flag's not it. No, because if you are the second coming of LeBron or whatever the hell nonsense is being spouted about Cooper Flag, you don't get completely shut down by the best defense in college, because you got to go play NBA ball now.
Yeah.
And I've been down on him for his shot selection. He's a great teammate, right? By all accounts, the guy is the best teammate you can have. He moves the ball around. He's got great court vision. He has no killer instinct at all.
No.
And maybe you don't need that, but Cooper Flag is going to be my poster child for these kids should have to do 2 years in college or 0 years in college.
I like that statement. Clarify that.
None of this one and done.
Yeah. Is that because you want – walk me through it. Is that because you want to see them grow in the second year or fail without going to college? So
the NBA is a business, right? And most of these guys, they don't have to do well. Look at Rutgers, right? Those kids are both going to get drafted, and they were awful in college, right?
Correct.
The only reason they're at Rutgers and not in the NBA is because the NBA said, we care about player development and, generating adults who can, do anything, read. The NBA started doing that, what 15, 20 years ago now. And it's bullshit, right? It's lip service, it's window dressing, but they're doing it. Okay, so let's take it to the next logical step, because these kids aren't going to classes. These kids aren't learning. Nope. Most of them do go back and finish their degree. I had to look that up. A lot of these one and done kids are finishing degrees, which is great.
Which is awesome.
Right? Because there is life after basketball.
Yep. You stop your basketball career at 38? So naturally there's going to be your whole life ahead of you. So,
but from a competition standpoint, Cooper Flag's 1 year at Duke didn't make him any more or less NBA ready. He was always going to go to the NBA, right? Agreed. So we either commit to these kids and to these programs, right? You do 2 years, and if you transfer, it resets your clock.
Yeah.
Or no years. And I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I think you either go straight out of high school if you're ready, or you have to commit to a program for 2 years, because guess what? You go to the NBA, you're literally owned. You're literally owned by a franchise. You can't just opt out because they brought in some new freshman you don't like.
Right.
So 0 years or 2 years, but I think it would do good for both the NBA and for college basketball. A guy like Flag wouldn't be there, right? But you would have these other guys who are going to sit at Duke for 2 years. And can you imagine some of these Duke teams if these kids had played for a whole year together, like
Banchero and
take this Duke team and make them all play again for Duke next year. Nobody's beating that Duke team.
Yeah, they would win the national championship by far and away, right?
So I think both products would benefit from it. And I understand it's never going to happen, and there's probably NBA people watching right now or calling me stupid, but like, I don't know, we let kids come straight out of high school for a long time. It didn't matter, right? LeBron's one of the greatest players of all time, no matter how you measure it. And right there with him is Jordan, who did, I believe, 3 years at UNC. Like, so there's something that we're missing here. And I think with all the transfers and the NIL money, like, you're really not losing out to do multiple years. But that's just a long tangent. I couldn't find anywhere else to fit in, but I don't think Flag's going to be good in the NBA.
You don't.
I don't. But I think another year at Duke with the core around him, he would come out and he'd be elite level NBA player immediately. You have so much more ball experience. You have so much more team experience.
Yeah.
I think it would be phenomenal from a competition standpoint across the board. But obviously a great season. Duke played well. Flag is a very good player.
Yeah.
But Houston shut them down.
Yeah.
And barely won.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have won. I think, just to clarify, when you say Flag ain't it, it's because of the killer instinct, right? Because
Flag's not LeBron.
Yes.
Flag's not Curry.
Correct.
Flag's not KD. Say what you want about KD. He has longevity, and he's got a hell of a shot.
Yeah. 27.
KD's a top 30 NBA player no matter who you are.
Yeah, but 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals on only 1 turnover in arguably the biggest game of your life, on 8 for 17 from the field.
That's what does it for me. 8 for 17 from the field. He didn't take over.
Then we can agree with that, right? But then, like, you think about the game, and I think why Houston won, right? Like, just going back to why Houston won this game. Flag's going to be number 1 overall pick. I know you can see my notes here. Far and away. Probably the best player in the draft, I would say.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, he's the most NBA ready.
Yeah.
He's the best player.
Yeah, Clayton probably could use a year maybe to get ready. He should come out. He'll be a real good NBA player, I think. Common Mallock is the reason why Duke lost this game. Projected 10th overall pick, right? 7'2", 6 points, 0 rebounds, and he only took 2 shots.
Yeah.
So you had 7'2", the 10th overall pick. You had 6'10", the number 1 overall pick. And you lost the game because your franchise center has legitimately 0 aggression on the boards. They got rebounded Duke by, I have it somewhere in these insane amount of notes here. I think they got rebounded him by 11. And their tallest guy is 6'10". This is a point that I'm going to get into when we talk about the Natty, right? Size, and by size I mean height, does not matter when you're playing against grown-ass men. This Houston team is built with a 15 players who are grown-ass men, from their mentality to the way that they play to the effort that they exude, and that is the reason why this Houston team has been so successful. And you mentioned the defense, right? This is an all-time defense. You held a Duke team who's averaging 85 points in the season to 67. And that is after you held a Tennessee team who's averaging 75 to 50. So you held 2 incredibly good offensive teams to a combined 40 points below their season average. I don't care who you are. Like, that is absurd. That is an absurd statistic. That's why they're winning games. And then you take that consistency on the defensive side of the ball. You remember last week, I'm like, they're not all defense. Like, they're the number 1 3-point shooting percentage team in the country. Like, they just are, right? They only make like 8 or 9, I believe, a game, but they're shooting 40% from 3. And lo and behold, they shot 46% from 3 on 10 for 22. And it's like, these guys are just like, the consistency that they've displayed against Tennessee and Duke is insane. And I'm upset they beat Purdue, obviously, but they have been tested by very, very good teams down the stretch, and they have done nothing but win the games that they weren't or were supposed to win, depending on how you look at it, right? So, disappointed in this number 10 overall pick guy, but I don't think Duke and that young core was ready to go up against such a banded together team. You know what I mean? So, just a wild win by Houston.
The good news is that Kamen can come out and get drafted, and Quaintance can transfer to Duke. And they'll have another big who has no energy and can't shoot for shit. That's ASU's 17-year-old big, for anyone who doesn't know. He is awful to watch in person. I have no idea how he was so highly recruited. He looks awful on a basketball court.
Yeah, no coordination, right? He averaged like 8.7 rebounds at like 7.2.
We literally called him the baby draft all year. Like,
yeah, during the game.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So, he's not gonna. I don't think Duke would grab him.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah. True.
All right. Do you have anything else on Duke Houston?
I do not. I don't think I do. This Newpol guy is pretty good though on Duke. Another white boy, left-handed white boy. Like, I don't know where they're finding all these white boys on Duke, but like
the Carolinas.
Yeah, like a fat
Appalachian bigs.
Yeah, I hope Flag comes back. I hope he realizes that he doesn't want to go to the Hornets, where his career is just going to go to die. And comes back to Duke and wins the national championship next year.
It'd be something. That'd be wild.
Yeah,
walking away from NBA money's got to be tough. Those are the problems that I want.
He's not an idiot. Yeah, he's not an idiot, but he should.
All right, 19 minutes on the clock.
Oh, this is
about
awesome.
The national championship. Florida Gators, 1.5 point favorites. Over under is 141.5.
Wow.
This is set. These numbers have kind of set. So this is about what we're looking at. Depending on what metrics you use and what you look at, and this is the first time we've really talked about this season, but this is the last game. ESPN gives Houston a 66% chance of winning, according to their in-house analytics. But Vegas has Florida as 1.5. So if you don't know gambling, sometimes the lines are to induce betting a certain way. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Vegas even thinks Florida is the better team, but Florida is favored here.
Interesting.
I am excited for this game.
Yeah.
This is the best possible national championship we could have had.
Yep. Agreed.
And my biggest fear is that we get a stinker. That for some reason, one of these teams doesn't show up in the way they have the entire year. Right? Florida is the offensive juggernaut. Houston is the defensive juggernaut. Oh, but by the way, Florida's defense top 10 in KenPom. Houston's offense top 10 in KenPom. Like, these are the two best teams in the country.
Yep.
And I'm just hoping that the game lives up to the hype.
Agreed. You want to go through some of your stuff? We can kind of pass back and forth here. So, would you say that Texas Tech's defense reminds you of a poor man's version of Houston's defense?
I see what you're doing here, and the answer is still yes.
Right.
A very poor man's version.
Very well.
Texas.
No one's touching it.
Like a Walker Texas Ranger kind of knockoff version.
Right. I and the reason why I put this in the notes too. There's no doubt that Florida has the edge offensively. Number 3 in points, 5th in field goal made, 52nd in free throw made. But I'm just curious if they're going to be able to rely on a very good free throw percentage and free throw clip against a Houston defense that's only allowing 12 makes and 17 attempts a game. I like simply put, I think this comes down to strength versus strength. And I think in the tournament thus far, Houston's strength has been stronger than Florida's, which is their defense, right? I found this stat very interesting when looking into Houston's defense, because I'm like, you could just say the same old shit, right? You could say first in scoring defense, first in field goal defense, like, yeah, no shit, right? The first and second half scoring, like, no matter way you dice it, like, this team's insane, right? They're 20th. This stat is wild. They're 23rd in the country in opponent turnover percentage per play. And I want to walk you through why that's important, right? Which is they're at 19%. That means 1 in 5 trips down the court, Houston is forcing you either into a turnover or they're not even allowing you to shoot the ball, right? 1 in 5 trips down the floor. Imagine if Houston is at 1 in 7, right? They're getting that many more opportunities on offense because they're turning the other team over so much. It's just I'm curious to see how those two are going to play out. So before I go into the rest, what are your initial thoughts? I don't know what the hell I'm going to think on this one.
So I think when I was evaluating this game, the thing that sucked as someone holding a lot of Florida futures and as a big Walter Clayton fan, Walter Clayton doesn't win this game for Florida.
You can't.
Alex Condon does.
Yeah, agreed.
And Alex Condon has been so streaky and inconsistent. There is only one thing that Houston does poorly. Yep. One. There's one thing. It's boards. It's defensive boards. And the reason for that, I had to pull up game logs and because it didn't make sense. It doesn't fit the profile.
Yeah.
It's because teams are at a 19% clip turning the ball over against Houston. They are bad at defensive rebounding because they haven't practiced it, because it hasn't happened all year. So when you're looking for an edge on this Houston team, I'm number one, I'm worried that the only thing they're bad at is just because they don't accumulate enough stats.
Yeah.
But what really bothered me is that it's Alex Condon's game to win or lose. Offensive rebounds and second chance points for Florida will be the difference in this game. And they're not things Florida does incredibly well.
Yeah, agreed.
From a rate standpoint, right? So the reason their offensive rebounds in total are lower is because they hit more shots than they miss, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. But from a rate standpoint, they don't offensive rebound well.
Right.
And when they do, they don't convert them into second chance points. They take low percentage shots, high in the shot clock.
Right.
And that's Condon. That's Condon. That's your center.
Yeah.
So that's the big call out I have for Florida is there's only one thing that Houston potentially does poorly, and you need your big to play the way he played early in the SEC schedule, not late, because Condon kind of faded at the halfway point and really hasn't looked great in the tournament. And part of the reason why you have Walter Clayton going for 30 points at a clip we haven't seen since Larry Bird is because he's essentially playing with the same center Larry Bird played with, who is some no-name white guy you've never heard of before, who can't get up for a rebound off the glass.
Agreed.
Now, all jokes aside, Condon's better than that.
Agreed.
But he has to show it. He has to show it right now because there's no more games to be like, oh, we'll get it the next time. We'll get it the next time. He's played like shit. He's rebounded like shit. And if Florida wants to win this game, they have to win on the glass, and they have to win in second chance points because they're not going to get good looks on their first chance points.
Nope.
So that was the big thing that stood out to me from a Florida standpoint is this is not Walter Clayton's game to win or lose, and that sucks.
Yep. And you perfectly laid it up for me too, because one of the key, I have a few key stats just like you do.
When you call out my perfect layups, it makes it less impressive to the audience.
I'm saying you're a good host.
No, I'm thankful for you recognizing that, but you're supposed to flow right into it. It's supposed to be invisible to the audience.
Oh shit. Anyway, what a shitty layup that was. But I dove into it as well because it didn't make any sense to me, right? Specifically for Houston, it comes down to rebounding. That's it. And they're 227th in the country in defensive rebounds, and you're like, fuck, like why? That makes no sense. Because they out-rebounded Duke by 11, Tennessee by 7, Purdue by 9, and Gonzaga by 6. And it's because of two things. It's because other teams are only getting 51 shot attempts to their 60, right? And they're also averaging 11 offensive rebounds themselves, which is 25th in the country. So in those games where they out-rebounded the teams that I just mentioned, which is 4 games in a row, they've out-rebounded teams, right? They average like 16 offensive rebounds a game. So it doesn't matter if you're not that great on the defensive side of the like rebounding, because you're not going to let up that many shot attempts, and you have a million-second chance point on the other end. And I'm specifically interested, again, I'm going to come back to this for Florida. It's the second half scoring. They're number 3 in the country in second half scoring. They displayed it against UConn. They displayed it against Texas Tech. They displayed it against Auburn. Can they do it against the best defense that we've seen in the past 10 years? That's it. It's just that. And one thing that I'm going to keep my eye on very close, is Walter Clayton Jr. turnovers. Because you just mentioned it's not his game to win. And you're right. There needs to be balance. Elijah Martin, Florida Atlantic transfer, needs to go off. Condon needs to get his head out of his ass and play much better than he did against Auburn. Walter Clayton is averaging 2.5 turnovers a game. He had 4 versus a weak Auburn defense and 5 versus a UConn defense that is the worst we've seen in the past 4 years for UConn. So if Houston gets to trap him and Houston throws Milos Uzan on Walter Clayton Jr. and hounds him from the opposing free throw line so he can't even cross half court, Florida is in for a long day. And I don't think that happens, but it's just something for the viewers to keep an eye on. Last tidbit. There's just like this other little guy on Houston that is probably the most underappreciated player in this entire tournament, and that's Cryer. LJ Cryer had 26 against Duke, 17 versus Tennessee. Purdue, he struggled. He only had 6. They still won. And then 30 versus Gonzaga. The kid's playing out of his mind. And he deserves, I think, a little bit more recognition than he's getting because he's doing it at a very, very high efficient clip. So it just feels like there is a world in which a perfect storm happens, right? Cryer gets balling early, puts up 15 in the first half. Clayton didn't trap, turn the ball over at a high clip. I'm not saying it happens, but there's just a world that I'm seeing where it's a possibility. So keep your eye on that. Just keep your eye on that.
I mean, if I told you that somebody won this game by 10, it's Houston. Yeah. It's Houston. Like there are so many fewer scenarios that where Florida wins this game by double digits.
If Clayton goes for 30 in the first half, then yeah, sure.
I mean, sure, yeah, at 30 in the second half.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I don't know. I see Florida. I see both these teams winning. I'm just not sure how you outcompete a team who just like is one of the best that we've seen in the past decade. So I mean,
Cryer was a player of the year candidate preseason.
He was my pick.
He's someone we talked about. Like, he's not a bad player. Down year here and there. Yeah. Like, how many teams can say that they're without question best player had a down year and then in the national championship?
Right.
Like that just speaks like Cryer can just show up. If he just shows up and has like the game that everyone knows he's capable of, this is a blowout.
Yeah. Because you don't need much on the offensive side of the ball. Houston can score lower than your average of 73 points a game. by the way. They're only averaging 73 points a game. And they're winning on average by 16 points. You don't need to score. So I think you put it perfectly, man. It's like Cryer has 20. Their big 13 has 10. A couple other guys. Uzan has 15. I mean, they just beat Duke, and Uzan went 3 for 10. He's averaging 14.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I think it's going to be close. That 1.5 is very interesting. That's a very interesting.
It's juicy, spread. Isn't it?
Very interesting spread. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think the runaway scenario for me with Houston is Cryer comes out and just shoots threes to shoot the lights out. I mean, they are one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, and they do it on low attempts.
Yes, they do.
And if they get rolling and they get going, you know, you shoot 4 for 6 from 3 to start the game, and it's 12-4. Force that first timeout. Maybe you don't even make it to the media timeout. I mean, that kind of pacing, in a vacuum, my brain tells me, my basketball brain tells me that high pace is a Florida game.
Yes.
But if Houston matches high pace with a 3 and a 3 and a 3 and a 3, at the percentages they shoot,
right.
And I get it doesn't scale cleanly, right? It's not how basketball works. Right. But if you are top 10 in the country on 3-point shooting percentage and you shoot 100 threes, you're going to score 80 points. Like,
yeah, you are. Yep. Agreed.
So I get it's not that cut and dry, but if you can pair a smothering defense that has already shown they can shut down superstars with slightly above average 3-point attempts at the same percentage clip, Houston can put Florida in a hole at the half and force Walter Clayton to play the second half he did on Saturday.
Yep.
Right. And if you force him into there, that's where those turnovers come. The more he's handling the ball, against a top tier defense, the more turnovers he's going to have. And that's not a knock against Clayton. That's just phenomenal defense. Like, the more opportunities there are to turn the ball over, the more turnovers you're going to have.
Right.
That's just basketball.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what I'd be looking for from Houston early, is put Florida in a hole and make them fight uphill against the best defense in the country. If you can hit 5 3-pointers in the first 8 minutes of this game, Houston is literally playing defense the whole rest of the way. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing.
No. Yeah. How did you bet on this? Tell the viewers.
I have not bet the game. I was waiting for this line to move back Houston's way because I think that's where it should be. I think Houston should be favored in this game. So I was going to wait for the money to go Houston's way and bet back on Florida. So I have my Florida futures. I still have all my Florida futures. I'm picking Florida to win officially. That's my pick.
Okay.
But I haven't bet this game yet because I was waiting for the money to move Houston's way so I could bet Florida plus the points. And it's a little concerning to me that the Sharps aren't taking points with Houston.
Right.
The money's just about split even. The books haven't moved. I mean, you could find – I found a pick'em this morning from a disreputable book. But, I mean, this is Florida 1.5 everywhere.
Really?
So I haven't bet it yet. I will before I'm going to do it right now while you tell me who you're picking.
Yeah, I was going to say we got game starting here shortly. I got Houston. I don't think it's a blowout. I think a close game, 2-3 points sounds right. Yeah, give me Houston 64 to 61. Fuck, that sounds crazy. Florida at 61 points. Oof, no.
All right, give me Florida minus 113 on the money line. It's still 1. It's still sitting at 1.
Wow.
I'll take Florida 113 on the money line and the under. Give me the under.
Wow.
141 even.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, just popped 107. All right, Florida 107.
Okay. All right. This is probably gonna be the best national championship that we'll have in a while.
I'm excited. This should be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We promised we'd get you out of here. We did it. Okay, 5:49. Tip-off is imminent. It is here. It is coming. Yeah. Thank you for joining us all season long, Dead Ball Dancing. We have one more episode for you for this season in about 2 weeks.
Yep.
Be on the lookout for that.
Yep.
But hey, enjoying the Natty. This should be solid. Go Florida. Give me the Gators.
Go Cougars. Houston Cougars. Like the animal. Just to be clear.
We have an outro that works now. In theory, we're going to play the outro.
Let us know in the comments, please, who you think is going to win. If my dad's the only one in the comments, I will find you. I will find each one of our viewers, and I will have a talking to you. If you're an Auburn fan, specifically Sean, we don't feel bad for you because the better teams won. Go Houston. Go Cougars. Kelvin Sampson brings it back to the great state of Texas.
Thanks for all the support this season. Check out our post-mortem up in a couple weeks, guys. Enjoy the game.
Peace, y'all.